Welcome to the PrepZone Show, presented by Bevill State. I'm Johnathan Bentley, your host, joined by my co-host, Zak McCullough. And Zak, you realize we're like 30% into the season now?
I mean, it just goes by so quick.
You wait all this time, and then boom, it hits, and boom, it's over. So enjoy this.
That's right. There's going to be a lot of games, folks, that you can get out and go to. So do that. This week, there are some good games that we'll get into in a minute, that are very nearby. So be sure to check out your local high school team this year.
Yeah, we actually have some excitement in the county after last week. So we'll jump straight into the scores here. This is the one I was talking about. I put it first on this list, as you can see. So Curry, 49, Haleyville, 27. You were there. Tell us about it.
I was. So Curry, started out with Curry up by 21-7, and then Haleyville fought back, got it to 28-27 after a touchdown. Faked the extra point. They were going to kick an extra point to tie it at 28. Well, they fake it, and they get stuffed, and they never had the momentum again. And Curry puts 3 touchdowns up on the scoreboard in the fourth quarter, and they win 49-27, breaking a 41-game region losing streak dating back to 2018.
Yeah, it's a long time.
That is a long time.
And good for Curry. So I am terrible at picking Curry games. I got one right so far this year. But
that's better than, I did get that one right.
We got one. Yep. So just pick them. I said, prove me wrong, and then now they've done it.
Proved you wrong.
Twice. But Haleyville, I heard they're going to be down this year, but you beat them by 3 touchdowns.
Haleyville, they are down. And it's a region now that with Haleyville not being as good as they are, that leaves the 4th spot in the region open to somebody who doesn't normally make the playoffs. So it could be interesting. Maybe one of our local teams, we've got Cordova, Dora, and Curry in that region, so maybe one of them can get that playoff spot.
It will work itself out because you've still got Good Hope in there. You still got,
Hamilton and Fett County.
That's probably
the top of the region. The top of the region's tough. Top of the region's tough.
Yeah, that 4th spot is going to be a battle. Okay, another game that was, this one was out of town. Jasper 48, Decatur 13, and Jasper just keeps on rolling up the points.
That's like Jasper. That's what they've been doing. They've been dominant, starting 3-0. Of course, they started 3-0 last season, and they weren't very satisfied at how it ended. So the Vikings, this is not their focus going 3-0. The focus is 4-0.
Yes. Now the real games begin, kind of. They took care of business like they're supposed to, though. A game I was able to see, Oakman 41, Carbon Hill 7, and it was 41-0 at halftime.
Oakman just, wow. They made a statement. They snapped a 7-game losing streak. That was 7 games overall. We're not used to seeing Oakman losing 7 in a row.
Not like them at all.
But they snapped that streak. Ben Painter gets his first win as a head coach, and it is in dominant fashion. Tyler Thomas had a fantastic game. We'll talk more about him in a minute. But Oakman, that's the performance that they needed after starting 0-2, just falling short in both of those games with comebacks. Here they absolutely dominate Carbon Hill at Carbon Hill. Very impressive for the Wildcats.
Yeah. First play of the game for Oakman, 56-yard touchdown for Thomas, and it was just continued.
It was over from that point.
Yeah, it really was. Not a close game. All right, another not a close game, Fayette County 56, Dora 27. At least Dora did score some points.
That's right. Dora, the offense, they really hadn't been able to get it worked out first part of the season. Now the offense has shown up, so now maybe the defense can stop their next opponent, which we'll get into that, but it's Hamilton, so that's going to be tough.
Yes.
Fayette County, they're improved this year. They're going to be really good. So unfortunate for Dora, they ran into a very good team and fall short.
All right, so another game right down the road from there, Hamilton 41, Cordova 20. Cordova, it's kind of like a last year game. They kind of kept it close for a little while, and then Hamilton pulled away.
And Hamilton's a really good team, so it's impressive that Dora is able to keep it to 3 touchdowns. So that shows that this Cordova team's got some life, even when they're playing the top teams in that region.
Yeah, they've had a very tough opening schedule. Oakman, Northside, and now Hamilton. All right, so Corner stayed undefeated. It's actually 28-13. And so that's 3-0 again for them. I guess nothing new, right?
And the Winona Dragons, who they beat, had not allowed a point on the season before this game, and then Corner beats them 28-13. So a 15-point win for the Yellow Jackets. Very impressive. This is a Corner team. They could legitimately go undefeated looking at the rest of this schedule. Yep. It's going to be tough, but there's a chance.
Yeah, it was your typical Corner game, like tied in the third quarter.
Right.
And they just don't get tired. The other team gets tired, and then they score a couple touchdowns, what usually happens. All right, so Hackleburg 33, Meek 0. Thought this would be closer.
I did too, but Hackleburg, they have a really good team.
Yeah.
Hackleburg, they have an impressive defense, and that's why Meek was unable to score. But fortunately for the Tigers, the schedule is now going to open up.
Yes.
You've got some easier games ahead of you. So for me, you need to look impressive. You need to rack up the wins before the big matchup with Addison.
Yeah, that'll probably come down. It could be for second, or who knows, could be for first at that point. All right, so continue into the Winston County schools. Winston County 51, Tanner 26. It wasn't really that close.
A dominant win for Winston County. Boy, they've responded to that opening week loss very well. That's exactly what you would expect from a team coached by the 2A Coach of the Year.
Yeah, it really makes a difference. I mean, you can tell the difference. You know, good coaches will make your team. I guess they took what they gave them. And Addison just, it didn't look like the same team. They couldn't score. They looked slow. And boom, now here they are. And they've won 2 in a row. And looks like old Winston County again. All right, so Addison, speaking of Addison, 68, Shoals Christian 8.
And that touchdown for Shoals Christian was put up late in the game too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think they had already had 60 by the time they scored.
This is a really good team playing a not so really good team. You know, not trying to be mean to Shoals Christian, but that's just the fact. That's just the facts that Addison, they dominated like we expected, and they win by 60.
I will say something good about Shoals Christian. They used to be really good.
They used to
give Lynn fits back in the day. Probably,
and I'm sure Shoals will be good again. You know, that's the thing about 1A. You're going to have some rough years, then you're going to bounce back up. Most schools. Then you've got some schools like Addison that just stay good all the time.
Always. And you put a good coach at a good school, it's a good fit over there at Addison. And Lynn, this kind of reminds me of the Oakman game where Coach got his first win, 70-0 over Brilliant.
Just a dominant win. This was a Brilliant team that was undefeated and a Lynn team that hadn't won a game, and Lynn just stomped all over them. Big statement for Steve Cagle's team, and like you mentioned, congratulations, Coach Cagle, with your first career win.
Yeah, 70. They just kept scoring, and kind of reminds me of the Alabama game.
Just kind of.
All right, so we'll jump into the Players of the Week. You want to talk about our first guy?
I will. Tyler Thomas with Oakman basically took over the game against Carbonell. 13 rushing attempts, 214 yards, and 6 touchdowns, all in the first half.
He didn't play a snap in the second half.
He really didn't need to. So his touchdown runs were 56 yards, 25 yards, 17 yards, 12 yards, 1 yard, and then 1 yard again.
That hurt his average. Those 2 1-yard runs.
And those 2 1-yard runs were of the 4 that went for under 10 yards.
Yes, unbelievable. And on one of those, he was the one that ran it to the 1 on like a long run. So, yeah, it was not good for Carbon Hill.
And that's Tyler Thomas not at 100%, too. He was injured last week, missed the second half of the game against Hale County, and then to come out and do this, very impressive.
I mean, unbelievable. Yeah, I think he's been banged up all year, and he had a great game against Cordova before he had to be taken out very late there. All right, so game you were at, you can also talk about this one.
Yes, Noah Martinez, an 8th grader for Curry, 31 carries, 284 yards, and 3 touchdowns, with touchdown rushes of 28, 24, and 15 yards. That's an 8th grader running for 284 yards. That's impressive.
Yeah. To get 31 carries alone and put up those kind of numbers with it, just unheard of.
And 8th grade, that puts him at 13, 14 years old. That is impressive. Yes. That is impressive.
And we also want to credit their line.
Yes, the offensive line, fantastic. Jace Cordell, he prioritizes the weight room, and it's really shown on the offensive line. They were able to move Haleyville Lions out of the way like they were nothing at all. So congratulations to Curry. The entire offense looked fantastic.
Yeah, and it seems like Curry loves the weight room too.
They do.
And when you have a team that loves the weight room, that will help. All right, so the last one, talk about Lincoln Smothers here. It's already been our Player of the Week once, and we're only in week 3.
That's right.
It was 3 this week, though. So, I mean, really couldn't. A guy with 6 touchdowns. 8th grader was 284 yards. I mean, you can't deny these guys. But Smothers, typical stuff, rushed 4 times for 224 yards, which is unheard of.
That's a pretty good average.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns. He also threw for 180 and a touchdown. I mean, over 400 yards against Decatur. I mean, what can you say?
That's impressive. Extremely so. Lincoln Smothers, he's taken over as the full-time quarterback. Last year, he kind of split time. This year, he's the full-time quarterback, and he has done absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's hard to believe he split time. Kind of got injured at the end of last year. And he has 9 carries this season for 384 yards.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good average. Over 40 yards. All right, so that's our Players of the Week. We had other guys that we didn't even mention that had good games. Unruh.
Spencer Unruh.
3 touchdowns in the corner. Roberts for Addison. Another big game. Well, 68 points. Somebody's
going to have to score, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll jump into this week's games. You mentioned there were some big ones here. And what about the first one, Jasper at Coleman? Jasper's 3-0 and Coleman 0-3.
Yeah, Coleman, it's been uncharacteristically bad of a season for the Bearcats. But look, it's the Jasper-Coleman game, and it's at Coleman, so you know that Coleman's going to show up and play well. But I think there's going to be too much Lincoln Smothers for Jasper. So I think it's going to be a close game around halftime, and then I think the Vikings are going to steamroll in the second half.
I do too. Now, Coleman has had a tough schedule. They played Bob Jones, lost to Buckhorn in week 2.
That's right, Buckhorn, your alma mater.
Or maybe that was Athens. But Athens beat Coleman last week. At Athens, Coleman kept it close. I think Coleman is probably not as bad as their record, but it's time for Jasper to win this game. This group of seniors has never beaten Jasper.
Yeah, 2021 was the last time that the Vikings beat Coleman. So it's been a while, especially considering that Jasper over those years has really been the better team overall.
Yeah, kind of let it get away last year, and it cost them a playoff spot. But the last 2 games were actually here because when the schedule flipped, so they haven't been to Coleman since these kids were a freshman. But that'll be a tough game always, like you mentioned. It's just a huge rivalry and a close rivalry. It's time for Jasper to get back in the wins on that game. Another kind of rival, Curry 2-1 at Cordova 1-2, where you'll be this weekend.
This will be a fantastic game. Of course, Curry's head coach Jace Cordell played at Cordova, won a state championship there as a player, so he's got some added momentum with that, or added. He wants to beat his alma mater, of course. This is a Cordova team that they've had a tough schedule to this point, and they're 1-2. This is a chance now, and with that region, you look at their region. I mentioned there's the 3 teams that are at the top of the region. And then there's 5 teams fighting for that one playoff spot. And this game could go a long way to determining who is going to get that spot.
Yes. When's the last time Curry had 2 wins going into week 4? So it's a great season for them, but this would make it even better. It is Cordova's homecoming.
It is.
Even though it's only week 4.
Added distractions for Cordova.
Coaches don't typically like homecomings.
I understand that because there's a lot of things that the players are focused on. I mean, there's the dance afterward and all the festivities. They had the parade that morning. So it's a time where focus can kind of run thin. And if you're a coach, you have to keep your players with their minds on the task ahead of them. So in this one, it's at Cordova. I think these 2 teams are both good. They're both, I think, in a neutral field. I don't know who I would pick, but because it's at Cordova, I'm going to go with the Blue Devils.
Yeah. The best home field advantage probably in the county, would you say?
Well, Jasper.
Yeah.
Jasper.
They have brought back the flaming pitchfork at Cordova.
Which I love that.
It used to be like back in the day, like 20 years ago, it was on top of the press box.
That would be dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in the press box. I don't want to flame it.
And now it's like as they come out, like it should be. But yeah, it's a good atmosphere over there. That'll be a big game, be a hard game to get a parking place at.
So get there early.
But I'm also picking Cordova there. I think their early season schedule has been brutal. You pick up Hamilton to start the region. That's just really tough. All right, so Dora makes a trip. Speaking of Hamilton, Dora still winless, 0-3 at 3-0 Hamilton.
And Hamilton's a place that it's hard to win. So I think the Aggies are going to take this one easily. Looking forward to when Dora's schedule finally opens up and
next
they get to play next year.
Right.
Well, they've got Fultondale and Haleyville who haven't won a game yet on the schedule. So there's chances for wins in there. But for right now, it's brutal, and it's gonna be brutal Friday night. You're playing a fantastic team. So hopefully the Dora offense can, take what they did last week and, put it on this week, and the defense can get a few stops, and then Dora could keep it close.
Yeah, they had a good second half. A lot of yards in the second half last week. But, Hamilton, even if Dora was 3-0, going to Hamilton is different. It's very different over there. It is very hard to win. Even the really good Cordova teams couldn't win over there. So I'm taking Hamilton in that one. Here's an interesting matchup in the next game. Oakman 1-2 at Phil Campbell 0-2.
Phil Campbell, they always have a good home atmosphere. I've been up there for a couple of games, and that fans show up. So it's going to be tough for Oakman going into a place that's bound to be loud. But I think too much Tyler Thomas. I think he's going to have another big game. So I'm going with the Wildcats.
Yeah, even at 70%, Tyler Thomas is still going to have a big game. I don't know if I've ever been to Phil Campbell. I don't even know which way. Yeah, I guess you go that way.
That's up past.
Yeah, this way, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so Phil Campbell, we're going for Oakman there. So we're picking some of the local teams here. Well, we had no choice in Curry, Cordova.
That's true.
All right, Carbon Hill 0-3 at Hanceville 0-3. It's probably one of the more interesting 0-3 matchups this week.
That's right. These are two teams that the defenses have struggled for both teams. So this could be a high-scoring football game. The Carbon Hill's going to Hanceville. This was a game that Hanceville won 24-0 last year. Really surprised us that Hanceville was able to win so big. Because it's at Hanceville, I think that Hanceville's going to win it. But I think it could get close. I really do.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you on that because Carbon Hill can score. Well, they didn't last week.
They didn't. That's playing over.
But they can score. Yeah, they've shown they can score at Colbert Heights game, for instance. But Hanceville's gave up 70 to Holly Pond.
Yeah, that's...
I don't know if they can score 70, but
so this could be like 66 to 65 or something.
Yeah, I would love that, and I loved for Carbon Hill to get a win here. Would be great.
I would, because the schedule for Carbon Hill gets tough after this. I mean, it's been tough already, but it gets even tougher. So this is, really the last game that they are going in with confidence before they get into the Gordos and the Winfields at the schedule.
Yeah, is a Gordo and a Winfield on the schedule. That's not good. Yeah, so I'm going, but I am picking Hanceville since it's on the road. Maybe if it was here, it would be different. All right, so speaking of a good team, corner 3-0. We have 2 ranked teams. It's one of them. I think they're number 8 and 5A now. So number 8 at Ramsey, which is 0-3, and they started the year ranked.
I did not expect for Ramsey to be 0-3. I was thinking this might be the game on the schedule that corner could lose. Going to Ramsey, a really good team, but the Ramsey Rams are 0-3.
Yeah, they got to take advantage when the team is down like that. I mean, I think they're actually pretty good. Their schedule is just unbelievable. Really, it's one of those deals. But I'm going corner as well. It'll probably be close into the fourth quarter.
That's right, which it has been for corner.
Yeah, that's how they do things.
I don't know. This might be a game that corner can, get out and stomp all over them and have get a big win.
I'd like that too.
That would be, interesting. So they don't have to play their starters into the fourth quarter. They can, get the backup some experience. So this is, I think, will be a good game for corner, and I think they'll move to 4-0.
Yeah, I think so too. Which will be another great year for them. Another great start. All right, Lynn, this one's interesting. Lynn 1-2 at Pickens County 1-2.
And that one win for Pickens County was off the field because, of course, Summoning Christian didn't have a team. So that's where that one win comes from. Pickens has not been good this year. And, it's in part of that's in scheduling. But it's surprising seeing Pickens County giving up 50 and 60 points in the game.
Yeah, I don't think it's your typical old-school Pickens County from even a couple of years ago. So I'm going Lynn on that one just for that reason. I guess you are too?
No, I'm going Pickens. It's at Reform. If this was in Lynn, I would pick the Bears. But, it's at Reform.
And last year was only 6-0.
It was. And that wasn't even, that was a rainy night, and it didn't even rain in Lynn. So then it was still 6-0. But I'm going with Pickens County just because it is in the land of the tornadoes. I think it'll be a close game, though. Low scoring again.
It will probably, yes. It'll come down to one score, I'm sure. So we disagree on that one.
We do.
Phillips at Meek in one of the very few home games around here this week.
That's right. Meek, they're taking on Phillips. Phillips coming in from Bear Creek. I know the record doesn't look great for Meek. They're 1-2, but who wouldn't be? I mean, last year Meek was 0-3 at this point, and they still wound up going 7-3 to finish the season, second round of the playoffs. So I think the Meek Tigers win this one pretty big.
Yeah, I think this starts their run again, hopefully.
I agree.
Addison will be tough, but yeah, this will be one of their easier games after a brutal 3-game start. All right, so a game I left off here. Do you know what it was?
It was Addison Cherokee.
It's Addison at home against 0-3 Cherokee.
And that's
we're going Addison that one.
Addison and Cherokee, I mean, it's going to be a similar situation to last week. Backups will get some good playing time. Hopefully, of course, and Mark Hastings knows this, you cannot take games for granted even if you're playing an 0-3 team. But I think Addison shouldn't have anything to worry about, so I'm going Bulldogs very big.
One of the highest scoring teams in the state. You score 68 and, a couple of weeks in a row, it's going to help. And I think they will add to that again. Yeah, Cherokee. They play these teams from far away, and they're all kind of the same.
Yeah, Addison and Meek and even Hackleburg, they're in a North Alabama region. They're going
Waterloo,
to the Tennessee River Valley. So.
Yes. I remember Waterloo came here last year, and I had no idea where that was. And they said it was in the very top corner that goes kind of into Mississippi at the very, very top.
Pickwick.
That's a long trip for a 1A ball game. But I see Addison winning that one easily. Winston County at Red Bay. This actually has become more interesting with Decatur Heritage just being awful this year. 0-3. So Red Bay could be in the mix here.
Yes, this could be an interesting region matchup. And this could go, like you said, a long way in determining home field playoff advantage or maybe a region championship. It's at Red Bay, so I think it's going to be close, but I think Winston County's too good, so I'm going Yellow Jackets.
Okay, me too. Winston County, it seemed like they got their footing now.
Yes.
Even though for some reason the Addison game, you just can't tell early in the season when you have a totally new team.
Week one, you never know how things are going to go.
But as you have said, he's the 2A Coach of the Year, so he's going to get things going right, and they have. All right, so we'll jump to our top 5 in the area right now.
Right now, yes.
Yeah, not 5 minutes
week,
from now.
not next week.
No,
right now.
this moment. And I'm going to guess we have a lot of the same teams.
I bet it's going to be identical.
All right, number 5?
Curry.
Yeah.
Okay,
so the first time ever we have Curry on this list.
I really think it is the first time they've been on our power rankings, and they deserve it. They're 2-1. They've got a winning record. One of only 5 teams in the area with a winning record. So I've got the Yellow Jackets because of what Jace Cordell has done. I mean, he's, like we've mentioned, he's worked his team out in the weight room. He's building something at Curry, and I think especially you've got players like Noah Martinez that are in 8th grade and dominating. It's only going to get better for the seasons down the road.
Yes,
Curry.
Yeah. He put that foundation in, and it started in the weight room, and they love it. And they even had, during the off season, they went to, I think, somewhere in Winston County for a weightlifting competition. I mean, they love this stuff.
They do, and that's something that a coach has to instill in his team. To like getting in there and working out the tough parts that nobody sees. So the fact that Coach Cordell has them loving that shows that those players love Coach Cordell.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit over there. All right, so number 4, do you want to talk about?
Number 4, I've got the Winston County Yellow Jackets. And you do too?
Yes.
We could be identical the whole way through.
Right.
We don't check with each other beforehand, so we don't know what the other is bringing. But I'm going with Winston County. We've mentioned that they have just rebounded fantastically from that first loss. And I think it's only going to get better, especially that region it's not that tough. It looks like Winston County's the clear front runner at this point. So I think this season will only get better for the Yellow Jackets.
It's hard to believe that Decatur Heritage, a team that was right there with them 14-7 last year, and that was for the championship. Yeah, Winston County's in a great spot. Number 3, Addison.
Oh, I've got Jasper number 3.
Okay. Wow. So I have Addison number 3, like we talked. You put Hastings at a good school, which before the season we mentioned that. He'd never been at a school that wasn't rebuilding.
Right.
So he takes them over, and it should be no surprise they're 3-0 and about to be 4-0.
That's right. And I've got Jasper number 3. I mean, Lincoln Smothers has been fantastic. You throw in Micah Fletcher. That's a great 1-2 punch in the backfield, and they've got a wide receiver core with Brody Garrett. And so it's a great team for Jasper, and I think they're going to keep on winning. And looking at this region, it is a brutal region that Jasper's in. You've got Hartselle, you've got Athens, and you've got Muscle Shoals. But Jasper's going to be right up there with those top teams competing with them for a home playoff spot.
Yeah, and the next 2 games at Coleman, back here against Athens, will determine, I don't know, maybe it would be nice to head into those final 2 big region games with an undefeated record.
That would be
incredible.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be set them up big time. But number 3 for me, Addison. Talked about.
Addison,
number 2.
Number 2 for me is Addison because everything you've mentioned, you put Coach Hastings in a spot that is, has had success, a lot of talent coming back, and this is the result you get. They're undefeated, and this is a schedule where there's some tough games. Good Hope at Good Hope. Now it's going to be tough. Meek will always be tough. That big rivalry, but the schedule is really favorable outside of those games for Addison to go on have a fantastic record and go on a long playoff run.
Yeah, they really set the tone with that Winston County game at home to open the season.
And as good as Winston County's been since then, that just makes that win for Addison look even more impressive.
Yeah, big surprise. Yeah, maybe Addison was that good, which I didn't think of at the time. But I just don't see Addison really. Yeah, like you said, the Good Hope game is always tough. I give them credit for scheduling.
Just going to a really good 4A school. That's impressive, to do that. And I mean, I'm sure Addison's going to stay with it because it's a team I think can swing with the 4As of the state.
Yeah, they've played well with it against them, even though they're really good lately. And my number 2 is Corner, which I guess you have higher than that.
I have Corner ranked number 1. And Trent Campbell, what he has done at Corner has been nothing short of fantastic. This is a team in 5A. They brought back everybody from a great season last year where they had a 9-1 regular season. Probably should have been undefeated, but we're not going to talk about that one loss to Briarwood. This season, they could go undefeated. It's a team for Corner that has been very impressive, and I think will continue to look impressive.
Yeah, they could be actually better this year and actually lose a couple of games. I mean, the region's pretty tough. And Briarwood, we kind of mentioned that about Cordova. That was Corner's homecoming last year, and it was not good. And Briarwood was rolling at that point, starting to run. All right, my number 1 is Jasper, so we've kind of talked about.
We have, yes.
Yeah, they have a good coach also.
Yes.
All these teams have really good coaches, by the way. which I think our whole area has pretty good coaches.
Yes, it starts with coaching, because you have to have the coaches that the players like and they want to play for, because these kids don't have to play. If they see a coach they don't like, they're not going to go out for the team.
That's never happened.
But if you find a coach that the players like, and all of these coaches, I'm sure they do, you're going to have players, very talented players, that go out for the team, and you're going to have a successful team.
Yeah, and you'll have kids come out more and more as your team continues to build success. All right, so that finishes up our high school talk. So we'll go into college quickly here.
Very quickly.
And, well, you were at the Alabama game. It was just, I think even the backup quarterbacks had 2 touchdown passes.
They did.
2, not just 1, 2.
Yeah, but 3 quarterbacks played. Ty Simpson, he put his name in the record books for the most passing attempts. So let me get this record. So he went 17 of 17 on passing attempts. That's the most that anybody has had in a game without throwing an incompletion in SEC history.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
Even though it was Louisiana Monroe, you still got to make the passes.
You do.
And they are being defended, or supposed to be.
They were supposed to be. Most of them were not. So it's good for Alabama. You win 73-0, most points in a game since 1974. That's a long time.
Can you tell me who that was against? Oh, never
Who was it against? I don't know. I know it was the Bear Bryant era. It was an Alabama team that
they scored a lot of points back during that time.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
So Alabama, they looked really good. They had a different intensity about them. They looked like they actually wanted to be there playing. Now you just have to maintain that, which we saw last year. Alabama did not maintain intensity throughout the season, and maybe they can do it this year. Who knows?
We got an early game against Wisconsin this week.
That'll be interesting.
All right, so Auburn also kind of a blah type walkthrough game over Ball State, which isn't a state, and I think it was 40. I even forgot the score. 48-3 or 41-3. Yeah, it was bad. 42-3. So it's just one of those. I mean, they had a pretty good game. The defense played great. The refs cheated. It's how they got 3 points. But now it gets a little bit. Well, South Alabama. Then it gets tough.
Then you've got the meat of the SEC.
So we got one more scrub, even though Wisconsin is not a scrub.
Not for Alabama.
But yeah. So
you say you're impressed with what you've seen from Auburn so far. I mean, they're ranked for the first time since 2021. They're 24th.
Harskin had them ranked his first year. I think he started 6-2.
Yes.
Then the bottom fell out, and they've been bad ever since. Until now.
Maybe Hugh Freeze is resurrecting this program.
Hopefully. Took longer than maybe I thought. Hey, I know he was kind of made fun of for saying, let's get to a bowl game, but that's what I'm hoping for. 8-4 would be great. But this is a start.
It is. It's a start.
It's a start.
So are you now happy with Hugh Freeze? You don't want him fired. You're good with him?
Yeah, at this point.
At this point.
I never said I wanted him fired.
Okay. Yeah,
in the last week, I have not said that.
Yeah, in the last week, yeah.
I had not said that at all. All right, so we want to make fun of a coach, and that will be Florida's Billy Napier. And just speaking of coaches, did you see at the end of the game they were chanting "Fire Bill Napier"
in the stand?
Fire Billy. Walked out.
Yep, that's what the students were chanting.
They're not used to this.
So Florida, they lost to South Florida at home on a last-second field goal, all because one of their defensive linemen decided to spit on a South Florida player. That's unsanitary.
He apologized for that.
He did apologize.
Yes.
It was just an accident.
He didn't mean.
Apology made everything better.
So yeah, that put them in great position, and a bad loss for Florida.
And now, Florida, we saw last year they wanted Billy Napier gone. Everybody thought he would be gone. And then he turned it around, took his team to an 8-5 finish. So everybody was saying, okay, this Florida team's going to be all right this year. Billy Napier has saved his job. And one loss ruins it.
It didn't work did not work out. Now they have a really tough schedule coming up.
And credit to South Florida. I mean, they've played 2 ranked teams to this point and won both. They played Boise State at home, dominated. And then they go down to the Swamp and win. Impressive. Now they've got a top 10 team in Miami this week. So that's going to be interesting.
That would be something if they won.
If they won that, just give South Florida the number 1 ranking. Give it to them.
I remember I was at a game South Florida beat Auburn before on a last-second field goal.
Alabama should have lost to them 2 years ago. That was
a good game. That was an ugly game. Do you have any games for us this week?
I do. I've got 5. Not an impressive slate. There are a couple of good games. It looked better until Florida got embarrassed. We're going to start with Wisconsin and Alabama just because Auburn, they're playing South Alabama, so I didn't put them on here. But Wisconsin at Alabama big favorites at home, 11 a.m. on ABC. Johnathan, do you think there's any chance that Wisconsin could pull an upset in this one?
I'm going Alabama, and they will cover this week.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they put the thing back on tracks now.
We'll see. You just don't want the team to get overconfident, like, oh, we beat ULM by 73. We're all right now. There's no reason to be intense anymore. Hope that doesn't happen. Who knows? I don't see Wisconsin coming to Tuscaloosa and winning because Tuscaloosa still is a great environment for Alabama. They are not going to lose there very often. So I'm picking Alabama, and they're going to have a bye week after this, and then it's a road trip to Athens, Georgia.
I said, now DeBoer, as bad as he's been, at Tuscaloosa, he's actually pretty good.
Yes, he never lost a game at home.
There you go. So
at Alabama.
I think that'll continue.
I'm trying to think of the last home game he lost. It might have been when he was at Fresno State.
Wow.
He
was
does
so
well
good at
home.
Washington.
He was. He only lost 3 games as the Washington head coach, which was very impressive. He's lost more than 3 at Alabama, which we're not going to talk about that. An interesting conference game, Vandy at South Carolina. This is a Vandy team where their quarterback said they were making the playoffs. A South Carolina team that they have not looked that good this year. They're still undefeated, but people thought before the season they could go to the playoffs. Most people still think that now, even though their games against Virginia Tech and South Carolina State, they never really looked great.
Yeah, Vanderbilt looked great in the second half.
They
last
did
week.
against Virginia Tech.
Out of nowhere.
I picked Virginia Tech in that one, and you
Looked
picked
good.
Vanderbilt. And at halftime, I saw the score. I was like, okay, I got this one
Yeah.
right. Well, after the game, leaving the stadium in Tuscaloosa, I checked my phone, and I see what happened. Virginia Tech just choked. It's like, gosh.
They gave up, I think, 27 or 37, a lot of points in the
It's
second half.
unbelievable.
Yeah, 37 maybe.
Virginia Tech, you know what? ACC is just an embarrassment outside of Miami and Florida State, apparently. So who are you going with? in
I'm
this one,
going
Vandy,
with South Carolina, but it's going to be close probably.
I think it will. I think it'll be a decent
Vanderbilt's
game.
not bad.
Vanderbilt, they're good at home, even though it's not much of a home field advantage because the opposing team usually has more fans than
Yes,
they do.
true.
But for whatever reason, at home, they seem to play better. South Carolina, it's a night game at Williams-Brice.
That'll be a
Teams
big
do
setup.
not usually go to Columbia, South Carolina and win, especially at night. So I think it'll be close for a quarter or two, and then South Carolina will steamroll in the end.
Yeah, I agree. South Carolina's actually pretty good. They just hadn't put it together yet.
Another interesting one, Georgia at Tennessee. It's a Tennessee team that's down basically their entire starting defensive secondary because of injury. It's at Rocky Top, 2:30 kickoff. Does Tennessee pull the upset?
No, I just don't think so. For the things you mentioned, and Tennessee, it seemed like they won this one last time there.
No, they hadn't beaten Georgia since it's been the Hail Mary.
The Hail Mary, yes, that's right.
2018 or 17. Now, last time they were there, that was like next to the last week of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And first play of the game, Tennessee scores a 75-yard touchdown, and then they get steamrolled after that.
Okay.
But
boy, so it's been a long time.
It has been a long time. It was the Josh Dobbs Hail Mary.
Yes. And the coach went to his knees. Yeah, that was great.
That's been, goodness, that has been a long time. So you're picking Georgia.
Yeah, I think pretty easily. A couple touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree with you there because Tennessee, I mentioned the entire starting secondary. Their 2 best cornerbacks are injured. Tennessee, they've been good, but they haven't really looked great. Neither is Georgia.
No, they haven't.
They struggled against an FCS opponent last week. 23-7 was the final score.
Yeah, Austin Peay.
Austin Peay, yes.
Strange.
So that's Georgia. They sleepwalk through their non-conference schedule usually. So in this one, I'm picking Georgia, but I could see Tennessee pulling an upset because I really don't think Georgia's that good. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. I think Georgia's going to collapse down the stretch. But for now, I'm going with the Bulldogs.
Yep.
Next to the last game, I mentioned this one at the start. It was looking very impressive. Florida at LSU. It's the night game on ABC, the SEC game of the week. And then Florida goes and gets embarrassed. They fall out of the rankings. Now it's looking like this could be a big LSU win. What do you think?
Yeah, they really collapsed. I hate they lost just because I wanted them to be both 2-0 here, but I'm actually glad they lost. It was funny to watch.
Right, it was.
And you got to pull for South Florida for the upset. But LSU at home, it's probably going to be ugly.
I agree with you. I think
this is the beginning of the ending for Napier.
Yeah, this is the end of Napier. You look at the schedule, they could go 3-9 this year.
Yeah.
This could get very bad on the Swamp.
Let's say pull a miracle 2 years in a row. That's true.
And so you're thinking, this is looking way off into the future. But if you're Florida, who would you target next if you move on from Napier?
I guess maybe the South Florida coach.
Oh, yeah. Golich. He was the offensive coordinator for Tennessee for a while. Really good. That's actually a pretty good thought. Gus Malzahn, that's a name that could come up. They could try to lure him away from Florida State, which I don't think Gus has any intention of getting back into head coaching.
He needs to be in that spot right there. It's perfect. In a good spot now.
So who else would you think that? Do you think that anybody would want to go to Florida and inherit the mess of a program that they're in right now?
Somebody will take it. They should have never got rid of Mullen.
No,
and if you look back, that was a bad mistake.
But it was just that last season in 2021 where they nearly lost to Samford, ended up beating them 70-56, I think, and they were done with them at that point. In reality, though, that was pretty much the defensive coordinator's fault, Grantham. But you're picking LSU big. I'm picking LSU big. I think this could be just a big blowout, 52-10, something like that. So this probably won't be much of a game, but those are the games you have to watch out for. Last game, Texas A&M at Notre Dame. Notre Dame 0-1. They took their bye week.
Yeah, that's very
last
strange.
week, which is you don't usually see that. So they only have the one game, the loss at Miami. A&M, they're 2-0. Haven't looked bad, haven't looked great. What do you think?
I'm going Notre Dame. I mean, it is kind of weird. You're sitting on that loss for 2 weeks after the opening week, and they kind of came back there. I really thought they were going to win that game against Miami, and they kind of gave up a late score there. Texas A&M just kind of blah so far. I mean, not terrible, not too bad, not too great. At Notre Dame, they're going to be ready for this one.
That's right, because they've had those 2 weeks to dwell on that loss. So you know that Marcus Freeman has his team motivated. So I'm going Fighting Irish as well. I think it'll be a close game, though. I think it'll probably be worth your time on a Saturday night to check that out. I figure it ought to be pretty fun, but I'm going with the Irish, and that's all I got.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And Notre Dame, I see them still as a playoff team. Yeah. Nowadays, everybody has a chance. Even Alabama has a great, as you mentioned, has great odds to make it.
They were the they had the third best odds of anybody in the country to make the playoffs, which I really don't see what anybody sees in that. I still think Alabama will be lucky to make a bowl game with that schedule, but we'll see, and it'll all shake itself out eventually. So, we'll see what happens.
I like to say Alabama in its first ever Birmingham Bowl.
Oh,
it's been Auburn's been in that, I think, 3 times. So, yes, Alabama's turn. I think everybody else in the SEC has been there, except Georgia.
I mean, I don't know. It's good to go to a bowl game, I reckon. It's better than going 5-7.
That's true. Yes.
Going to a Birmingham Bowl and playing in East Carolina or something would just be
I think they'll
embarrassing.
Do better. I think they'll do better. All right, well, that wraps up our show. Want to thank Jake for producing and Bevill State for sponsoring. And get out and watch a game this week. I mean, it'll be over, like kind of we mentioned at the start. Before you know it, it'll be over. It'll be cold, and it'll be December. We'll be deep into the playoffs with hopefully a couple of these teams to it.
And there's a chance we could have some of these teams. Our teams, they don't fare well in the playoffs. They always those bad scheduling. They wind up in a rough spot, second or third round of the playoffs. But this could be the year. Who knows? So get out while you can. There's a couple of games in the area this week that you want to check out. And if you're a Vikings fan, it's not a bad drive to Coleman, and that should be a fun game. So go up there and watch a game. In reality, all these games should be worth your time, except maybe Addison beating Cherokee. That might not be. But if you're an Addison fan, it'll be
at home. Yeah, that is a very short trip up 69 to Coleman. It's not a bad trip. All right, so that wraps up our show, and we'll see you next week.